Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. My name is Tyler Brown. I am Director of Engagement Analytics at the Indiana Management Performance Hub. And I just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to participate in this webinar regarding the latest data release on the Indiana Data Hub. It is our first data release of education and workforce-related data sets. And we're really excited to release those in advance of the Indy Big Data Visualization Challenge that we will talk about during this webinar for a bit as well. I wanted to start with some additional thank yous. I wanted to thank the Indiana Commission of Higher Education, the Indiana Department of Workforce Development, the Indiana Business Research Center, and the teams at Indy Big Data and Conference Ventures for making this visualization challenge possible and for making data sets available for the Data Hub. So kicking things off here, I've already introduced myself. We do have in the room with us some subject matter experts from the Indiana Department of Workforce Development and Fran Valentine. We've got some of her team as well here. And then we have Jordan Allen with us from the Indiana Commission of Higher Education. Everybody is muted, but you should have a chat feature in the webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat, and we will try to answer them. So I wanted to start with a brief overview. Some of you are probably already familiar, but these data sets have been made available ahead of the Indy Big Data Visualization Challenge that will take place on September 26th. And we will have some details about the format of the conference and the challenge in a bit. But I wanted to start with the broad challenge statement that we created and that these data sets were made available to try to aid in answering. So I'll just read the challenge statement. So Indiana must build the 21st century talent required to sustain our prosperity and competitive edge as the world economy changes. The state faces the challenge of filling more than 1 million jobs over the next 10 years. To meet this goal, we need more specially trained and skilled workers, meeting the needs of Indiana employers. The data compiled for this visualization challenge contains information about employment patterns, higher educational activities in Indiana, and we will have some time later in the webinar to actually go over high level what the data sets actually entail. The challenge is to use the data to answer the questions and how higher education sector responds to changes in demand for skills in the economy. And then we've provided some potential questions you could answer. We wanted to keep it pretty broad. In a visualization challenge, we're really excited to see what the participating teams can come up with the data that's been made available. But we have provided a little bit of honed-in questions just for a little bit of direction as well. All right, so now I'm going to kick things off to Matt Kirby from KSMC Consulting, who's going to talk a little bit about the Indy Big Data Conference and the Visualization Challenge.
Thanks, Tyler. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. Wanted to just very quickly run you all through the process coming up here over the next couple of weeks as we've released the data here this week, and really wanted to give everybody as much time as possible to dive into the data, explore what's there, and come up with some good solutions. So as Tyler said, we're very excited to be partnering with the folks at Indy Big Data and Conference Ventures as part of the Indy Big Data Conference. This challenge is being run in conjunction with the conference. And for those of you who might not have been to the conference before or are unfamiliar with what goes on, it's really a very exciting one-day event, really the biggest data-related event in the state, I believe, with well over 1,000 attendees. So this is a great opportunity to network, to mix and mingle with Indiana's growing data community, and we're very excited to participate in that. So the conference itself is, like I said, is a one-day conference. It's happening coming up September 26th, Wednesday, September 26th, at the JW Marriott in downtown Indianapolis. We will be judging and allowing teams, selected teams, to present all that day. So the way that the conference itself will work and the challenge, we will open up a preliminary round of judging that will begin at 8 a.m. on the 26th. Teams will be on site to present. Judges will review those submissions, and the top teams will be selected to present to the general audience later that morning. So this is really just it's a very exciting opportunity for MPH and the state to showcase the work that we're doing. It's also a great opportunity for participants to show their skills and creativity. So as you can see on the timeline here, the data sets are up. We'll be walking through those here shortly. The next deadline for you all to be aware of is next Friday, so a week from today, September 21st. At 12 p.m. is the registration deadline for teams. So for the conference, if you've not already registered, you need to register for the conference itself. There's a discount code for students that you should see there. But you need to, 1, register for the conference, and then 2, register as a team with all of your participants on the team being registered. Again, the deadline for that is 12 p.m. next Friday. Again, the conference itself is September 26th at the JW. We're asking all participating teams to be on site for that preliminary judging beginning at 8 a.m. And then the selected teams will go on to present during an 11 a.m. slot in the general session.
Thank you, Matt.
Couple other things just to point out. You can find these on the visualization challenge page itself.
All right, so I think now we're ready to run through the data set.
Just go to the next slide. Oh. No. The evaluation criteria for the solutions can be found on the challenge page. That's all pretty straightforward. Just a couple of other things to point out. Teams are limited to no more than 10 participants. The teams must present on site during the day of the conference. And like I said, you need to register for the conference itself. If you have any other questions regarding the challenge, please submit those via the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer those. Now I'll turn it back over to Tyler to start walking through the data.
All right, thank you, Matt. So as Matt alluded to, we're really excited about the data that was made available. We have 18 new data sets on the Indiana Data Hub from the listed entities here: Indiana Commission of Higher Education, Indiana Department of Workforce Development, and Indiana Business Research Center. So now I will actually go to our hub page and tell you how you can access the data sets. So if you go to hub.mph.in.gov, you'll come on our home page. Now, where you can most easily find these data sets that were made available for this challenge is through the Groups tab at the top of the screen. So we have data sets broken up into 5 different group topic categories. So for these data sets, they will be available under the Education and Workforce. But in here, you can actually see the page and the 18 data sets that are newly available on the Data Hub. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this, we do have members of the Commission of Higher Education and Department of Workforce Development in the room. And I'd like to turn it over now to Jordan Allen of the Commission of Higher Education to talk through the data sets that were made available.
Thank you, Tyler, and thanks to everyone who's joining us. DHE this year is providing 3 main data sets. We're providing all for Indiana public colleges. We're providing data on public college enrollment. We're providing data on completions, and we're also providing some census data from the American Community Survey. For both the enrollment and completer data sets, we're actually providing 2 data sets for each. So we're providing one enrollment data set at the campus level, and then we're providing one at the sector level. And the difference is, with the campus level, there will be 1 record for each student in a fiscal year at a certain campus. And for the state sector enrollment data set, there will be 1 record per student per sector. And for the most part, it's a little more complicated than this. These counts have been deduplicated by looking at the students who have the highest degree level earned. So if a student earned a certificate and a bachelor's in the same year at the same institution, we would only count them at the bachelor's level. The same applies to our 2 completers data sets, and when we say completers, we basically just mean degree. Those are students who earn degrees at Indiana public colleges between 2005 and 2017, and we use the same deduplication logic where if a student earned multiple degrees in 1 year at the same institution, we would only count them once. I won't say too much about the attainment data. That's all available from the U.S. Census Bureau if you have questions about that. But that's mostly just kind of looking at different categories, the different numbers of Hoosiers that fall under different attainment categories, including some of the demographics. So I think we'd be happy to answer any questions later. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jordan. That's a really great overview of the data sets. I really think that these data sets are going to be valuable for the challenge in looking at that talent pipeline view. I really found interesting that we could see enrollments and completions at the campus level and at the program level, which I think could really provide great insights to the participants. So thank you. I guess now we'll move on to the data sets that were made available by Department of Workforce Development. So I have Fran Valentine here and a couple members from her team, and I will let her take it from here.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. We, at the Department of Workforce Development, provided 5 data sets to be used for this event, and we can run through those. There's also a summary if you click in, if you would like to know more about each one of these data sets. But the first data set is the Occupation Employment Estimates. This is a data set that we produce here in-house at DWD along with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And it is a survey program that surveys employers to give us estimates for current employment counts along with wage. And these are standardized at the Standard Occupation Code level, which is a federal standardization program, so that we can use the data to match across multiple programs. So that's going to be a key piece of information for you within that file to get both the wage information and the current employment by that standardized occupation code. The second data set is an occupational projections file. This is a statistical job projection going out 10 years. It was just published this past summer, but the data set does say between 2016 and 2026. So this is our 10-year look forward to predict using a statistics program that is based on both industry growth and the current employment that we see at the occupation level. The estimates of the openings through new growth, the replacement openings, and occupational transfers. So this will show us not only what are the new jobs, but what are those occupations that will be transferring from one occupation to another, and what we can expect for labor force leavers due to retirements and other reasons that people may want to leave the labor force. So this is a pretty detailed file, and again, it's standardized at the SOC code level or the standard occupation code level. Next, we have an Indiana composite score file, and this is a education attainment value, again, at that standard occupation code level to give an estimate of the most common education attainment level required by each occupation. And this is a file that we worked in collaboration with the Indiana Business Research Center, who's also a data provider for this event, looking across multiple sources of this type of education attainment level data. We did kind of standardize and weight those responses so that we could give what in Indiana would be the most common education attainment value. Next, we have a file that goes through our funded eligible training provider programs. So these are programs that are funded within the InTraining website on the dwd.in.gov website that have been aggregated, and we do have those coded by the zip code level. So this would give you the standardized program code. Again, you can use this for matching to a stock code or the standard occupation code to determine training providers that might be able to meet an occupational demand. And last, we have job postings by county. We also provided through this file the standard occupation code with the number of job postings by county. So you can use that to match, and these are coming from our Indiana Career Connect database, and this database uses both internal job postings, so for Indiana employers that want to post a job within this job board, they can go to Indiana Career Connect and do so, but this also scrapes FIDER's external job postings as well, so it's picking up job postings that would show up within Monster and Indeed, and also on company websites as well to aggregate the number of job postings. And we provided a 3-month look. So you can see, within the last 3 months, the activity there at the standard occupation code, and then we also gave a 1-year look as well. There's an additional data set that just shows all internal and external postings going back to our kind of recorded database history, just to give you the view of magnitude for postings that we see in the long term as well. And those postings you are going to see within that file, there is a data dictionary that goes into more detail, but there will be some null values because with job postings, we do not always see a standard occupation code assigned. And that will be made clear in the file. So this is not necessarily representative of every posting out there, but we did want to give you a way to assess employer-driven demand as well at the occupation code level. And we're very happy to answer any questions as you move through these data sets.
Thank you, Fran. I think, the thing that is going to be most helpful for the participants of this, so as CHE, as we talked about, a lot of the talent pipeline, some of the supply, and this gets to more employer demand. So we kind of try to link based on those topic areas to meet the visualization challenge that I talked about to start. So the rest of the data sets that are available on the hub were all made available by the Indiana Business Research Center. So several of those, I believe 8 of those data sets come from the American Community Survey from the Census Bureau. A lot of these have multiple geographies and multiple years. So a longitudinal view, and you can hone in on the different geographies around things such as poverty status, median monthly homeowner costs, educational attainment, means of transportation to work, number of vehicles per household, and metrics like that we thought might be interesting from like a barrier alleviation standpoint that could be used. Additionally, they do make available a SIP to SOC crosswalk, which would be very helpful in connecting some of the higher education SIP codes to DWD SOC codes. So that is made available as well. And then I think the last couple that we have here from the Indiana Business Research Center is the commuting patterns by county. So this essentially will show by county commuting patterns for the five areas that bring people into work into a county and 5 that a county employers most work at. And you can see that in the file here. And then finally, the Indiana Business Research Center made available a data set from ONET around knowledge, skills, and abilities, which I'll click on here. So essentially, ONET has a content model to look at an overall view of an occupation, and this is just a subset of what they have that ONET has available. But this will tell you abilities and skills earned at the occupation level, and then knowledge additionally. So I think that is a very high-level summary of the Indiana Business Research Center data sets that have been made available. If you have any questions, feel free to submit those, and we'll be happy to answer them. And I think just a quick follow-up, we do now have 69 data sets now actively on the Data Hub, so feel free to browse data sets that were previously made available. I'll click on the organizations here. You can see by organization where these data sets are coming from. We have various Indiana Department of Homeland Security, Indiana Department of Transportation, Indiana State Police. And then I also recommend that people go to the 5 groups. Might be easier to find a data set through the 5 group areas. And then additionally, just a couple other resources that we want to make available that are already public data sets. Data.gov is a resource that can be used for federal data sets, but also Stats Indiana and Hoosiers by the Numbers, which are partnerships between the Department of Workforce Development and Indiana Business Research Center, are also great websites and resources to use that the teams could use. I think that is all that we have for the data sets. I guess to wrap up, a video recording of this webinar will be made available via Indy Big Data, the web page on Monday. So if anybody couldn't make the webinar, feel free to pass this on to them, or if you want to just go back through, feel free to. Any immediate questions can be submitted at indatahub@mph.in.gov. And we also have provided that link in the final slide here. Matt, do you have anything left as we wrap up?
No, I think we're good.
All right, thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them.